Hello, I'm Donna Phelan. Welcome to Perspective. Have you ever wondered what the future of television will look like? Our guest says the future of TV will be on the internet. He's Frank Zanca, producer of StayTunedTV.net, a web-based TV network. He's also an author. He wrote Escape from Berlin, the Diane Jacobs story, the biography of a young woman who escapes Nazi Germany. He's also written 3 novels, including The Awakening, a thriller set in Florida. His latest book is The Battle for the Ruby Slippers, and he's currently working on a 3D production called Cats. Welcome, Frank.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are certainly a multi-talented and very busy person. Thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate it.
So tell us what the future of TV will look like.
Well, as you said, I think that the future of television will be on the internet. It's just a matter of time, probably half a decade before the technology is there where we can actually stream video through the internet and look like HD.
So will the format be the same? Is it going to be 30 minutes or?
30 minutes, an hour. Even cable hour-longs are still 50 minutes or things to that effect. So.
Right, but we'll be able to see entire television programs right on the net?
Yeah. Once our televisions actually pick up the internet, you'll have either a little remote or with a little keyboard on it, and you'll be able to access, not only Stay Tuned TV, but YouTube and a pile of the others.
So we'll be able to click around for shows on demand, TV shows on demand?
Yeah, and archived. That's how I watch my movies now, is all through Netflix on demand.
Well, that's exciting. How is that going to affect traditional TV networks?
That's why some of the networks in the studios are very nervous right now, because they don't know how it's really going to affect how they work, and they're trying to jump into the internet now. CBS has TV.com, and of course Hulu is Fox, ABC, and NBC. So they're trying to jump in there to see, because they have no idea how it's going to be. But if everything is accessed through the internet, then they'll be lumped in with everybody else. So that's what's making them nervous.
So what is StayTunedTV.net?
Well, as you said, we're an online television network. We air webisodes, which are basically very small vignettes for a series. So instead of a series being a half hour long or per week or an hour long per week, ours are 5 to 7 minutes per week. So we have about 50-something shows up right now.
That's exciting. And you work with Tim Ryder, who worked on that '70s show and Third Rock from the Sun.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Yeah, and he recently worked on the Alyssa Milano show, Romantically Challenged also, and he's working on a show called Bruce, which is for HBO. But he and I actually met during the writer's strike. A friend of mine and myself created a television show called Sunset Stand-Up, which we were going to put on the internet, and we ended up doing it during the writer's strike. So we put an ad up on Craigslist, and all of a sudden we had the DP from Will & Grace, and we had the makeup guy from House. Then Tim sent me his resume, and I was like, producer of That 70s Show, producer of Third Rock, Cosby Show. And so I said, okay, you realize this is not paid, right? He goes, that's okay. I think there's some stuff going on the internet. Send me the script. And then we met after we had the script, and he says, I love it. How do I become financially involved? And we've been partners ever since.
That's very exciting and really quite high level.
Yeah, and then after we produced the show, then we said, okay, what are we going to do with it? So that's when we decided to create Stay Tuned TV and make it a format that's a basis for all independent filmmakers.
And viewers can find that at www.staytunedtv.net.
Yes.
That's very exciting. And you recently had your first anniversary and held your first Web TV Awards.
Yes, it was at the Marriott in Burbank, and we had Todd Bridges MC, and we basically held the little mini Oscars or Golden Globes for our independent filmmakers.
That's very exciting. So you're setting a lot of firsts here.
Yeah, I was excited. I think that some of these filmmakers don't get the praise that they really deserve, and some of the talent out there is just phenomenal, and they work on absolutely no budgets. I mean, the budgets are all budget by Visa. So, I think that they deserve a little praise for doing some of what the networks take millions of dollars to do.
Right. And there is a lot of unrecognized talent.
And I actually brought one of the one of our trophies. I have not given this to Don Stark yet, who was actually in that '70s show, but he's also in our show called Greatest American Hero. So this is what it looked like. So
that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Let's hold this up here for just a second so they can get a shot of this. This is the Web TV Awards. So maybe we'll be up for one of those next year.
Absolutely, we have to put it up on the internet. And I don't know if you want to leave that there, but also I'll be teaming up with ITV Fest next year.
And what is ITV Fest?
It's a film festival for television shows and independent television shows.
Exciting.
And now they started doing webisodes as well, and it's happening right now at the Lamel Theater on Sunset. So we sponsored this year, and we're going to be linking up with them to do a larger award show next year.
And what is a webisode?
A webisode is a very small portion of a larger television show that's broken down into 5 to 7 minute segments.
That's great, and that kind of lends itself to the internet.
Yeah, people online have a very small attention span, and mostly because they're watching it at work or whatever, and you're watching it on a screen this big, so you really can't curl up on the couch with it at this point. And that's what I'm hoping will change, and that's why 5 to 7 minutes, and they're off break or whatever else, and then they go back to work.
So is web TV profitable?
No. The short answer is no. And I really think because the shift for advertising hasn't happened yet.
So the answer is not yet.
Not yet. I think that a lot of the executives for some of the larger companies are all still working on a medium that they're used to. So print and regular TV format and things to that effect, even though the internet is completely recordable as far as your reporting is concerned, so it's a lot better, obviously, than Nielsen to that effect, but the mental change hasn't happened yet. So they have a lot of budgets for print and things like that, so, we still don't get any money on the internet yet.
It's still a very exciting venue, and you are a TV and film producer.
Yes.
And if any of our viewers wanted to become a producer like you, what tips would you have for them?
Well, a lot of actors and producers and writers, they wait for their agent to call, they wait for the phone to ring, and it's just, in today's day and age, there's no reason for that. So I suggest going out and, writing a very small script that you can shoot with friends of yours and make sure you have quality actors in there. And no matter where and what state you're in, I'm sure that you can put out a casting call and get some pretty quality actors. And with today's technology as far as cameras, and there's no reason you can't get a really nice product out. And shotgun it out there, get it out as many things as possible. And then when you start getting some hits, you'll start getting known, and you don't have to wait for the phone call to ring, or the phone to ring. So for any producers or writers or directors or anything out there, that's my thing. I suggest you go out and shoot it. There's plenty of platforms to be able to put your stuff on and then use that as your calling card.
So they can be self-made.
Yes.
That's very exciting. So it's really an open architecture kind of media art.
Yeah, we're living in the Wild Wild West right now for TV and film because everything is a lot less expensive. Because when you were shooting 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, look at all the costs that you have to have. But with video now, it's like, okay, I'm done. My friend just shot a webisode yesterday, and it's already edited. So in 2 days, he's done. You can't do that with traditional film.
Right. That's very exciting that anyone can access the art, the media arts. I want to switch gears for just a second, if I may, and I want to talk about the Diane Jacobs story. This is such an important story. Escape from Berlin, the Diane Jacobs story. Tell us about this book.
Well, it definitely was something that I thought needed to be told because that is far from my normal realm. I'm a fiction writer, and all of a sudden I was writing this nonfiction book. So as far as how I met Diane and how I got it started, I belong to a filmmakers group, and I got an email that said my next door neighbor is a Holocaust survivor and she's looking for somebody to write her book. Of course, there was no pay or anything else. So originally I deleted it. I said, I'm too busy to do, that kind of thing. I knew it would be a very long and arduous journey to complete that kind of story. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, when am I going to have that opportunity again? Because everyone in that age bracket, that generation, they're all upwards in age. So finally I went back to my deleted folder and I called her and I said, Diane, this is Frank Zanca from the table, and I'm going to talk to you about your book. And I said, this is probably your 50th phone call today. She said, no, you're the only one. Yeah, how odd was that? So everybody must have thought the same way I did, that they were just too busy. And the project did take me a year and a half to write. So,
well, it's a very compelling read. I couldn't set the book down. And how were you able to capture such vivid detail?
Well, it's funny you say that because I had a very hard time because I'd never been to Europe. Mm-hmm. So I had absolutely nothing to go on. And naturally, when she told me the story, I recorded her. And I said, okay, now start at the beginning and end at the end, and give me as much detail as you can when you're doing this together. No. She would go over here, and then she would tell the story over there, and then she'd tell the story over there, and I had pieces of a puzzle all over the place. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to write it, and I'm just going to let, her say, okay, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and then I'll go back and do a rewrite. But at the same time, I was looking up on the internet, okay, what does this place look like? And at one point in time, I had the Rhine on the wrong side of Germany. Uh-huh. So, yeah, we had some problems.
So, and it is the story of a young woman in Nazi Germany.
It starts out that way, yes.
Right, and she's Jewish, and so they have...
And she comes from a very affluent family as well,
right.
So it was a hard hit for her in general and her family when everything got taken away.
And she decides that she has to get out of Germany.
Well, she was a member of the underground resistance.
Right.
So she went out and she basically undercover. Says they had the BDMs, which I cannot say in German, but what the BDMs were was the Hitler Youth for female.
For females, right.
And they used to have meetings and things like that, and what cafes and things like that they were going to hit. So they dressed up like BDMs and went to the meetings and then warned people.
So she was about 16, 17 when she dressed up.
I think she was more like 15, yeah.
15. And she's a Jewish girl who should be targeted by the Nazis, but she's going undercover and dressing as one of the Nazi youth army for the women and warning the Jews that they're going to be hit upon by a Nazi SS squad.
Yes.
That's pretty gutsy.
Yeah. So she almost got caught a couple of times, and then she did get caught, and then she escaped, and then she finally realized that she had to leave Germany.
Right, and when she was leaving, she went into a cloister to hide, and they disguised her as a nun. And the Nazis came right in, right?
Yeah, well, it was funny that here you have a Jewish teenager dressed like a nun in the middle of, they tried to, guard them as much as possible from, anybody coming in. But, of course, the Nazis came in anyway and searched the place. But, they were dressed like nuns, so they would have to openly say, you're not really a nun, which
right.
they weren't ready to do at that point in time.
Right, so this was about 1937?
Yeah.
So
I think, 37, 38, something like that, yeah. Definitely before the U.S. entered the war.
One of my favorite stories was the town that stood up to the Nazis with pitchforks, which was totally courageous. Tell us about that.
Well, the little towns and villages hadn't been overrun yet because there was obviously no strategic position for the Nazis there. So those were the little towns, villages that ended up guarding and hiding some of the Jews. And still, at this point, the SS hadn't really taken control of everything at that point. So the little towns, villages still had control over their own little sanctions. So yeah, they actually stood up to them at that point in time. They still could. Of course, that slowly dwindled into nothing as we went into the 40s. So.
Right. Still, pitchforks are no match for...
Pitchforks and dogs, yeah, for guns.
Right. And then as she was trying to escape to Cologne, she actually hitched a ride with...